enough, the wind's not too bumpy enough to enable the girls to actually do some real wing walking and manoeuvre around the top of those wings. Coming in now to start their display from the right-hand side. They're going to get a bit of altitude here. You see them climbing, then they push over the top, and the bunt and all the blood will rush up to their heads, and then go into a magnificent.
When the barnstorming activity started out, that's so named because the aircraft would go from town to town across the United States, and the pilots and those with them would sleep in barns along the way. When they started out going wing walking, it really meant just that. They would literally walk across the upper surfaces of the biplanes they were flying on. Well, nowadays they're kept very tightly tethered, the girls, to the rigs atop the wings, even when we see them later climbing off the rigs.
I'm absolutely delighted they are tethered, because Orma Locklear, even towards the tail end of the First World War, actually supposedly went out of the one aircraft to another. Absolutely extraordinary. The rest is history, of course. You can never have a cropper early on, sadly. But Ethel really making a mark there for female wing walkers. And as Ben said, it was such an evocative, I find it such a charismatic and atmospheric display, bringing back the fun, but also the incredible bravery of those young pilots. Lots of aircraft were spare at the end of the First World War. Lots of pilots, of course, not many jobs. And that's when they got into landing anywhere in the backfields of the Midwest, on the roads. Something familiar sounding to my own flying there, I think. And it was a case of, come on girls, let's go flying.
In those days it was aircraft like Curtiss Jenny that held sway, but here we see one of the greatest training aircraft of all time from the Between the Wars period, the Boeing Stearman Model 75 that trained countless American and other Allied aviators during the Second World War. Now, the two aircraft and the two wing walkers coming in head on to us. And there is the break, the two pilots. Farrell and Martin Carrington. The two girls on the wings are Gina Marshall, nicknamed G-Force, and Katie Hobbs, known as Shockwave.
Yes, very competitive to get a slot either in the cockpit or on the wings in this particular team. Martin, hugely experienced at this, but the girls are very, as I say, competitive. Now, they started only this year, this pair of girls, and their first display was not even in this country, it was in and through the off-season you may catch sight of the odd advertisement. Just call up the Aerosupermatics yourself to try and get a slot. But we're talking of fitness, and the girls work very, very hard, as hard as the pilots, to make this display happen. Aircraft itself was modified with an extra pair of ailerons to give the extra agility required to display them.
Talking of agility, the two girls on the wings are both, of course, you'd expect, very fond of various outdoor activities. Gina Marshall likes going skydiving, skiing, scuba diving and rock climbing, while Katie Hobbs is a keen netballer who's played in the Netball Premier League. She also enjoys florist, and she comes from a farming family, and so in the off-season she helps out spring planning as well.
about 350 sheep, so that sounds a lot of work to me. But did you notice there, as they came through to that pass, they were lying on their side? Of course, you will catch them going upside down as well. And you have to keep your eyes peeled on all of them. We're dropping in and out of the cockpit next time they pass. As they pass, it could be a loop, it could be a roll, it could be a barrel roll. That is the flexibility that they have. Now, leading is David Barrell, although Martin is the chief pilot there, runs the whole thing. When they do a display, David normally does the leading, so it'll be his voice you mainly hear on your scanners or on mine. Let's keep your eyes peeled now as the girls running in. And once you're ready. They keep the smoke on, of course. We mentioned earlier on it's just not to make pretty shapes in the sky, but it's actually a safety feature as well, so that you get the tally on each aircraft, so that means each pilot is able to see the other one early before you start your turns in towards each other. Looks like we have a crossover coming up. The girls now repositioned on their sides yet again. Martin had a childhood passion for this sort of flying, having to wait until his 17th birthday to even go solo. Dave conversely started in the parachuting world, doing a lot of para-jump piloting, but also running a garage. He's a very good mechanic in his own right, so if you've got a problem with your motor car today, then stop Dave at the gate and I'm sure he'll help you out. Martin Carrington, meanwhile, now in his 17th season with the wing-walking team of Aero Superbatics. He had to wait until his 17th birthday to go solo, so keen was he to become a pilot himself. Of course, they can't talk, it's just hand signals straight. And another break. Very vulnerable, they don't have to stay up there all the way, of course. They are able to drop back into the cockpit if they're flying off to another domain to do another display. But of course it's pretty unpleasant, and as I say, they work really hard, as much on their formation work as the pilots do, by the use of hand signals, and that's all they have to communicate with. Vic Norman, the man behind Aero Superbatics and the Breitling WingWalkers team that we see here today, one of the great innovators of the British air display scene. It was out at the California International Airshow at Salinas, I seem to remember, that in the mid-1980s he saw a Stearman wing-walking act being performed by the late Art Shaw, one of the top American display pilots of the day. He thought he'd like to see a bit of this in Britain himself. Took a while to get the aircraft and get the necessary approvals, but then the WingWalkers were born. They were indeed. Now keep your eyes peeled because they've got all the altitude. They'll be turning this into energy now as they come down. David will call and it's an absolutely magnificent barrel roll, totally in coordination with Martin there, and it's basically describing the shape around one of those big old oak barrels that for the wingman always to do that because of the dexterity required and of course the coordination. Coming right now. There you see very clear coordinated command. A lovely big bit of blue sky just coming along now to show up this wonderful colour scheme that Breitling have provided. Breitling, of course, tremendous supporters of the UK air display industry, and our thanks go to them as well. Now, long-standing friends with Aero Superbatics, as well as European and Middle Eastern tours. Of course, unsurprisingly, the team spend quite a bit of time in Switzerland as well.
Yes, they've got 4 aircraft at their disposal now in the Breitling colour schemes, able to represent the company at multiple venues, often 1 pair in the UK, 1 pair in mainland Europe, but also further afield overseas. Now we see that the girls have unstrapped themselves from the rigs. Steelers wings passing by at 80 miles an hour, a manoeuvre they call the Wind Rider.
Well, that is one exceptional movement, and having achieved that, the chances are now that the girls will reposition themselves to do their next favourite manoeuvre, which is moving back to the trailing edge of the upper wings, and they'll put one foot on the top of the cockpit that they sit in, which is just ahead of the pilots, and then with one arm they'll hang on to the harness and form a upward leg manoeuvre, which they refer to as the arabesque. It's a pretty courageous manoeuvre too, and a great opportunity for you to give them all now a huge wave. So the usual rules apply, boys and girls, mums and dads, whatever you've got, do please give them a great Scampton wave. It's very hard, and as I say, it's not very pleasant up there. So here they come again now, Breitling WingWalkers.
Stand by, get back to you.
I think we get a bit of a Mexican wave going down the flight line now. They're nearly the centre, so everybody off down to the south and to the west there. Come on, everybody, to the right. See you all.
And they'll now be descending into their respective cockpits, ready to set up for landing, because now that we have retrieved the Percival Pembroke, they are able to land back here rather than diverting into the main diversion airfield at RAF Waddington.
That's absolutely right. I just called them clearing complete and downwind to land. But as they go downwind, they're just giving you a bit of a wing waggle. I think that's proof that they enjoyed your waves, and also that they thoroughly enjoyed the
So that was David Barrell and Martin Carrington, Gina Marshall and Katie Hobbs together, the Breitling WingWalkers. About to come into land before we move on with the next display item on the programme here at Scampton today, and a very appropriate one for this former Royal Air Force Bomber Command station.
Scampton display Memorial. Memorial Scampton display, runway 22 right hand, security 987, active fast cars. 90732, request display Memorial.
Well, as the two Stearmans come into land long, we stay with historical aircraft for the next act, and we turn to the Royal Air Force performance. It's been quite a few weeks for the Royal Air Force Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, with the enforced grounding of their Rolls-Royce Merlin-engined aircraft, namely the Lancaster, the Hurricanes, and most of the Spitfires. But thankfully, thanks to a huge effort by the flight technicians in conjunction